Good evening and welcome into our 13 WRX studio and our 13 election headquarters. Polls closing here in Illinois about 19 minutes ago. Still waiting on our first results. The AP, NBC, mainly all the news outlets calling the main races here on the presidential side. Not too surprising. Everyone else dropping out except for the presumptive nominees, Donald Trump and current President Joe Biden on the Democratic side. You can see on the map right now, we're still waiting for those first results. But while we're waiting for them, I want to refresh you guys on the big talking points we want to go to for our local congressional races. Things spoken for the presidency, at least until we get to November. We want to talk about the primary races that impact you. We're going to start with the 11th district. People in Belvidere and Boone County voting for that one today. And whether you were a Democrat or a Republican, you had a say in this one. A rarity across the entire state, really even across the entire country, where you have a contested primary on both sides. On the Republican side, Susan Hathaway Altman and Jerry Evans have ran for office before. Not getting past the primary, though. Kent Mercado is also in the race as well. Before I talk about this race and kind of the picture as a whole, as we've tried to put tonight into context with November, also want to shoot to the Democratic side. The incumbent Bill Foster looking for his 8th term in Congress, going against Qasim Rashid. He's had a very aggressive campaign on social media. We'll see if that can energize some young voters in a night that is supposed to have some pretty low voter turnout. I can tell you at my precinct and our reporters who have gone to their precincts across the entire state line have really heard the same thing. Pretty low voter turnout across the board. So we'll see if maybe motivating a different side of the youth gap could potentially help this become a competitive primary. Important to note, though, Foster has generally won these primaries that have been contested for him in those several terms. He's generally won them by about 30 points. Now, the reason I want to bring this up, because this has been a pretty blue district through and through for some time, is that this district has been redrawn. So normally we wouldn't spend so much time if there really wasn't a chance for a Republican to come out here. But looking through the data, I think it was very striking when they redrew this district, after the 2020 census. The gap that generally Foster was winning in the general election was between 25 and 30 points. You fast forward to this most previous one. In 2022, he went against Catalina Loft. That margin went from almost 30 down to 13. Now, that is still a wide gap to cover, but I think something we definitely have to pay attention to. So that's why we're making sure we're highlighting the Republican side here, because if they can have some momentum, maybe we'll see if this redrawn district could actually potentially lead to a Republican flipping the seat. Next district I want to jump to is on the fringes of our coverage area, a seat that I think is actually more in play than some people might think. Lauren Underwood is the current representative for District 14. She's running unopposed in this primary, but 2 Republicans are trying to flip this seat. James Marder has ran for office several times. He started all the way back in 2016 running for the senator position, U.S. Senate. And then you have Charlie Kim. He's a newcomer to politics in our area. So though not in our direct viewing area, DeKalb, Sycamore, I know some of you get that signal, hoping to keep you guys informed of how your race is going and also highlighting how your district is voting. However, the one that we often always talk about here on election night, because it has been such a competitive district now several times over, is the 17th district. Eric Sorensen represents this district right now, though we couldn't call this on election night back in November of 2022. That win margin just 4 percentage points over Esther Joy King. And here's the thing, is that was the exact same win margin back in 2020 when Sherry Bustos held on a surprising challenge then from a newcomer, Esther Joy King. Right now, these Republicans working to flip that seat red. This is one Republicans have had their eye on because that win margin has been so close. Joe McGraw out of Winnebago County. He's been in the justice system for the last 2 decades. Scott Kroll out of Milan out in Rock Island County. And here's the thing, is that these are the 2 of the 4 most important spots. Want to highlight McLean County and Bloomington and Peoria County here. Those are the big population bases here. Rock Island County being the most important one, about 45,000 votes coming out of here in the midterm. So absolutely vital that they are able to command votes out here, because the issue that we've seen in the past for a Republican trying to win this district is that the Democrats run up the score in Winnebago County, Rock Island County, Peoria County, and McLean County with Bloomington. And that becomes insurmountable even when the Republicans are winning these rural districts by 15, sometimes even 20 points. That amounts sometimes to only about 1,500 votes of a gap. And then you look at how the Democrats are winning some of these bigger areas, putting gaps of 6,000, which eats up 2, 3, 4, sometimes even 5 of these smaller rural counties. So are either of these Republicans between Kroll and McGraw going to be able to motivate voters tonight in some of those major counties to show that maybe they're able to keep that gap a little bit tighter come November? That's a big storyline we are going to be watching tonight. Also, we are going to be able to look at voter turnout compared to the 2016 primary, specifically for Republicans. We got a lot to look out for, but as we wait for some results about 24 minutes after polls have closed, we're still waiting on some of those results. We'll visit you again at the top of the hour, 8 o'clock, for hopefully some more votes to look at, and we can really start crunching some numbers and some data for you. Thank you for now for watching, though. Leaving the election base here at 13 WREX. I'm William Ingles. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.